welcome to number. I don't know
17?
what. Is there going to come a time when we're just going to forget what number we're on? It was all right when the darts was happening because we were just on track with the darts, but now it's all a bit. Yeah, 17 I think, isn't it? Week 391 if you're watching at home.
Nearly the big 400.
Yeah, you said the other day we ought to do something special for
We need like an anniversary or a big party or something.
Anyway, Hannah's back!
Yay!
Fresh from Birdfair, and
Yes.
she's obviously sitting at the other end of the room because she's a lot louder.
Because I'm shouty, yeah. I'm right down here in the corner, yeah.
So what was it like?
Oh, it was amazing. It was really, really good. Loads of people. Didn't think it was going to be so popular. I didn't realise there were so many bird watching enthusiasts.
It's huge, isn't it?
It's a
huge.
massive thing. And
This is Birdfair, by the way.
Yeah, I went into it thinking it was kind of something for the older generation, which sounds, I know, but actually people of all ages. And it was really, really good. And they had loads of different stands and stuff. So they had a wild zone where they were trying to get kids to interact and get into nature and birds and stuff like that. Really good, really good fun. I met some really interesting people.
We're so glad you're back because we did the podcast last week. We had to grab somebody off the street to come with us, didn't we?
We did.
Because it was really tough with two, actually. I don't know how podcasts do it with only two people.
Yeah.
So we grabbed somebody off the street, but started a whole new section, which
have.
we'll talk about later.
Yes, I'm excited for this.
Yeah. This week's show. Well, we were at the community school at 8:30 yesterday, weren't we?
We were. Quite an exciting day for all the students there, wasn't it? Well, the little students that were there, that were left here.
There are only a few because a lot of them are in the UK already, but as Hannah pointed out, there's a bit of fake news in that.
Yeah. I think it's a bit mean to expect students to open their results there and then for the first time on camera, because for all they know, they don't know what they're going to get, and if they don't do as well as they hoped, you don't really want to get shots of them crying, and it's a bit unfair. So
I did.
We did a little newsy trip, didn't we?
Yeah.
You guys got them
Already
opened them all?
What we did was we waited for a girl to open her results, and she was very pleased with them, and then we said, would you mind reopening those, because obviously there's pros and cons to it, because it is a little bit fake news, but also it's such an emotional moment. I mean, I remember getting mine and they were good, but I cried anyway.
I cried when I got mine.
And it's just unfair because, especially
can I just say, I was the first year that did GCSE, so I'm like in your generation.
In our generation,
GCSE.
It was no levels, A levels, no levels.
GCSEs.
Yeah, no, because I think it is a bit unfair, especially if you've got kids who've opened their results and they're, oh great, I've got loads of A's and blah blah, and then you've got, obviously you have the kids that don't do as well or aren't as academically minded, and it's a bit unfair to get that live on telly, you know? I don't.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we did a little bit fake news, but
we did a bit fake. But yesterday we were waiting for Thomas, who's done a fantastic job, because I've just seen it that he's just sent through at the hockey. I mean, full on filming at the hockey. So we've got a massive hockey package in the programme today. It looks fantastic, and it's just finished downloading now. So yesterday, while we were waiting for him to send it up to us, we did some target practice with the Nerf gun, didn't we?
Very important
I think,
office.
who do you think was the champion on that?
I thought Dan was quite
I think
good.
Dan was pretty
Dan
good.
was very good.
But then
Dan
minor Tom stood up, came out of nowhere, he was the underdog and absolutely smashed it out of the park.
So FITV Nerf Gun Championships.
I was getting it all over the place. I couldn't even get it on the target. I was like, I don't know what's happening.
This is
and then
with a
I've got
Nerf
terrible
gun.
eyesight, I'm going to say. So
This is with a Nerf gun in the middle of the office, we have to stress.
Yeah, not a real
Nothing
gun.
dangerous.
And I wore false eyelashes on TV for the first time.
I thought they looked fab.
I felt I had trees attached to my
No,
eyes.
honestly, they didn't look too big. See, it'll be interesting to see if any of the viewers realise.
Yeah.
And
If you don't feel fake,
That's the
then you
first thing
aren't
you look
doing
at
it right.
FITV. Last week we did a makeup thing. Oh, you missed that. That was great with Leicester. And I think I forgot to say last week to the listeners on the podcast, there was some jump cuts in there. Which is the new.
It was me that put it together.
Vloggy style.
Because
Vloggy
yeah,
style.
I'm a very big and always have
Vloggy.
been.
That's with a VL, everybody.
It's not vloggy, it's vlog, but okay.
Vlog style. Vlog style.
Come on, our generation, Paula.
I know
Come
I
on.
lost it now.
God, you did GCSEs.
I know I did.
But it's I'm a big YouTube fan, and I think there's a place for jump cuts. I think there is. I think
I'm
it
not convinced.
creates a fast, upbeat, get to the point kind of.
Especially if it's with music or if it's a long piece of footage you've got and you're like, oh, you want to show that time's passed quickly without speeding up the clip and making it look like they're running about. It's quite snappy and fresh and
I'm yet
young.
to be convinced about that.
Okay.
But we put one up on YouTube. Nice to see we've got 9 thumbs up on that.
Yeah.
But 4 people that what's I just don't understand people. I really don't.
Generation. It must be a generational thing. I think the young people at our age are into makeup and things like that, and obviously older women are as well, and men.
Don't look at me.
But no, but
you eyelashes.
But you've also got people who have never, with drag and stuff like that. It's quite a new concept-ish. I know it's probably been going for a long time, but it's only just kind of come into the limelight. And
men were wearing makeup in the 1900s, weren't they?
Yeah, but people have a bit backwards sometimes.
One of the comments on the YouTube channel was to do more stuff on settlements out west, which would be fantastic, and we would absolutely adore to do that. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of money at FITV, which is why we're doing these podcasts, so that somebody big and wonderful can give us lots of money.
I can feel
for
an
us
appeal
to say,
coming here. So if anyone wants to put us up on any of the settlement, I haven't done my appeal for ages.
So we can say, here, you need to buy this product, which is going to make your hair look fantastic. Or
shout out to our listeners in the US.
Yeah, shout out.
We checked our analytics this week, and we've got quite a few of you listening to us from different states.
California, I like to think.
California especially. So
I like
shout out to you guys.
Gerard
nice
Butler
to hear
there,
from you
sitting
all.
in bed listening to our podcast. That's what I like to think. I'm just going to think about that for a bit.
Let us know where you are. Write us back a comment. So this is us asking you to write us a comment and let us know where you're listening. That'll be really interesting.
But not horrible ones, eh?
Yeah, please no horrible comments.
You were saying about people following and hiding content on our Facebook page, I presume that is.
Yeah, so I've been doing all the stats for social media this week, and we've got a lot of positive stats, but one of the negative ones is that a couple of people, too many
you
for
know
my
who
liking,
you are.
you know who you are hiding our content on Facebook, which means that they're not unfollowing us, but it means that when they want to see something from us, they want to actively search for our page and find us, and then read all in one, a little bit like a news app, rather than seeing it constantly appearing in their newsfeed.
So it's not a completely negative thing?
No, it's just a different kind of consuming.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Is it because, do you think there's not enough ukulele stuff?
I think so. I think that's exactly it. Yeah.
That's what it is. We've got to get that word in. So we've got a strategy to get our podcast into the top 10 podcasts of the world, and we will come to that a little bit later on. So stay tuned for that. See, there's a little teaser. See, that's a little strategy there. Look. Tease people. Hear it at the end. But anyway, last week, Hannah, we dragged an accountant off the street. Luckily, he was an accountant. I mean, if he'd been anything else, I don't know how we would have come up with this idea.
My goodness.
But we're going to go through some careers.
That's good. Especially around GCSE results. Kids trying to figure it out.
Exactly.
All sorts of things. Our demographic is all ages.
Yeah, so we don't just,
career changes.
This is all planned. It's all part of our big plan.
So who's?
Well, we thought A for accountant. If you were doing an alphabet of careers for a child, A for accountant, B for barrister. So
or barista. I love the tea.
Well, it just so happened that there was a barrister that was just wandering past our door, and we dragged him in here, and we asked him a bit about his life.
Oh, nice.
So we're joined by a random barrister that we've pulled off the street.
As he was walking past,
Mr. Stuart Walker.
Hello.
You are actually a real life card-carrying barrister, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I was called to the bar in 2005.
So is that what they say? They call it calling. You don't apply or anything like that. So Katie's here to ooh about things.
That's what I do. Ooh.
Yeah, it is a calling. So when you qualify, you get called to the bar at one of the 4 Inns of Court in London. And I was at Middle Temple, and you sign the roll of barristers, and then you're a barrister.
So if somebody's sitting there at home right now listening to this and going, do you know, I fancy doing that barrister business, how do you get there?
First, you'll need a qualifying degree, so you'll need some A-levels or A-level equivalent. Then off to university, you can study a law degree or another degree followed by a conversion course, which when I was around was called the General Diploma in Law.
Is that because you've been a barrister for a very, very long time?
Very
yes,
long
about
time.
13 years now, and I think all the names have changed now, I think, to something else. So once you've got a qualifying degree, then you've got a choice to make. You either go to the bar and become a barrister, or you become a solicitor. And that choice determines which training course you take after you've finished your degree. It was called the Bar Vocational course when I did it, but it's called something else now, which I don't know. And there's a legal practice course for solicitors.
So do solicitors not sell houses?
They do. Conveyancing is one type of law, but traditionally the difference between a solicitor and barrister was barristers had higher rights of audience, so in the Crown Court and above only barristers could appear. That's changed recently, so solicitors are allowed to speak in the higher courts as well. So in recent years the two professions have become more and more fused.
Because in the past, wasn't it a case that, and this may still be the case, that barristers dine on swan and have them in underpants? Isn't that what
That's
barristers...
judges. That's judges. Certainly not criminal barristers. Get drunk on red wine. That's criminal barristers.
I see. So if somebody's in the Falklands right now,
Yep.
and they're just thinking about what they're doing, so that they can't do this training here, can they?
No, they can't, and the reason for that is in order to practice in the Falkland Islands, you have to have qualified as a barrister in a qualifying jurisdiction, so England and Wales or a Commonwealth jurisdiction. So you've qualified as a barrister or solicitor in England and Wales or the Commonwealth, and then you can apply to be a legal practitioner in the Falkland Islands. But a number of the jobs here, if you're working for government, perhaps less so in private practice, but because of the type of law you'll be doing and because there aren't a huge amount of lawyers, they need you to be quite experienced. So a lot of the job adverts will require at least 5 years post-qualification experience. So you'll need to have both qualified away from the Falkland Islands and practiced for a period of time before you're going to have a good chance of being able to get a job here.
So this job, contrary to our interview with our accountant last week, where you could do it in the Falkland Islands, this is one that you must go elsewhere to.
Yes, I think
into.
it's not because the Falkland Islands doesn't want homegrown lawyers to practice here. It's just that when you can only have one person practicing in a firm doing a certain type of law or for government doing a certain type of law, because of the nature of the job, they need to be able to cover both simple things and complicated things, and they're only going to be able to do that once they're 5, 7, 10 years in to the job. So the requirements of the jobs that are available preclude you being able to train in the Falkland Islands and go straight into a job here.
So when you're standing there in court, have you ever quoted any films?
No, I've quoted Meatloaf.
You never shouted, "I am the law."
No,
You're all
shouted
out
that.
of order. Do you do that?
I told the jury that 2 out of 3 ain't bad. That was my Meatloaf quote. No, I'm not a film quoter. People will often quote things just to get the jury's attention, to liven things up a bit, to draw an analogy. It's one style.
So it's not just about presenting your case. Is there like a psychological thread as well then? Because you've hinted at sort of, getting the jury. Is there a psychological side as well?
Yeah, so in criminal law, when juries are much more prevalent and they're hardly used in any other type of law that's gone to trial. So in criminal law you still have juries, and jury advocacy is a specialism because you've got 12 people, they're not lawyers, they need to be able to understand the case in simple and attractive language, and your job is to present it to them in that way, which is why people quote films or draw analogies to modern popular culture to bring the case alive and to make a connection with the jury, because if you're not connected with them, if they don't view you as a person who's helping them to understand the case that they're trying, then you're not going to have their sympathy and you're not going to persuade them.
And is it absolutely necessary that you wear a three-piece suit?
Absolutely, if you're a barrister.
And if one were to wear brown shoes?
Brown shoes, I think, are a contempt of court, which can be dealt with by immediate imprisonment.
Wonderful. Good to know.
Good to know.
The death penalty if combined with a blue suit.
height of European fashion, can we just get that in there?
But court dress is quite important because it all feeds back to the principle of the rule of law. So the rule of law is the idea that everybody from the monarch downwards is subject to the laws of the land and that the law is ever present. So the court, in terms of its image, projects a continuous, ever-present image, which is why you have all the tradition of wigs and gowns that dates back hundreds of years, and the crest in the courtroom and the way that the courtroom is set up and the way you speak to the judge. The idea is that this thing will be there forever, regardless of the people involved or the person sitting on the throne, and it all feeds back into projecting the image of the rule of law as being this high principle that will exist regardless of where society moves.
Very well. Thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you.
So that was Mr. Walker. We see quite a bit of court.
We do. What a lovely chat that was.
Lovely chat. So next week we are looking at sea, which could be a lot of things. I don't think we'll tell you what it is. We've got it on our board, what it's going to be. And I don't think we're going to tell you, listener. I think we're going to get you to tune in next week to
write
find
a
out
comment on what you think it might be.
You awful engaging on social media.
Just
Please.
let us know. Let us know what the sea jobs are you think are here in the Falklands, and we'll let you know if you've got it.
There we go.
Well, you never
Do you
know.
know what?
Performer.
Yeah, well, last week we were thinking about what you can't do in the Falklands. We came up with wrestler. Professional wrestler probably can't do that.
My dream
Clown.
job.
Clown.
Well, no, you could.
You could
do
kids for kids,
But
kids
circus.
entertainer, circus.
No circus here. You'd have to bring the whole circus with you if that's what you wanted to do. Anyway, looking back on some of the other things we've had recently, we got you to do your English accent, didn't we, Caiti?
Oh yes, darling.
So could you say your English accent for us?
I would like to have a cup of tea with the Queen, please.
Now, we had a chap who worked for us a few years ago. His name was Paul, and hang on if this is going to load. And here's his English accent.
Cup of tea with the Queen?
One more time for us, please.
No, he actually sent me about 6 of them. Okay.
Oh, a cup of tea with the Queen?
We love Paul. Thank you, Paul.
That's amazing.
Thank you, Paul.
You've set a
that.
new standard of English accent for me to try and meet.
So Hannah, while you were away, we started a crusade on getting knitting needles onto the plane. How do you feel about that?
Very. I'm so happy about that because I actually managed to get my knitting needles on the plane on the way out to Bryce from MPA, and there was a little bit of a hoo-ha as to whether I would be allowed. But I batted my eyelashes at some poor young chap in uniform, and he said, "Actually, no worries." So, but my knitting needles are plastic,
Yeah, well, my
and I
knitting needles
don't
are
look like a
wooden.
very scary person who's
No.
going to run around welding my needles everywhere.
No,
so.
but apparently the doors on the plane are not ballistic doors, and so apparently a wooden knitting needle or a plastic needle would pierce the fuselage of a...
Yeah, but who's going to be waving their needles around when you're knitting? You're quite contained in your seat.
Yeah.
But I can understand. I did think I was quite lucky. I did think I wondered why I was allowed them on because you can use them as a weapon and.
Yeah, I suppose
You know they're sharp. They're not really sharp, but.
I suppose somebody hell bent on doing it could tackle you for your knitting needles. Although I'd have to say it would have to be a very brave person who tried to wrench my knitting needles out of my hands. I suppose they could, even if you're not hell bent on doing it, somebody might be. Anyway, so we started a crusade on that, but also the library is going to be moving.
Oh, I've heard about this. Yeah.
But I haven't heard it from anywhere official. I don't know if you guys have heard it from anywhere official.
No, not yet.
Who did I hear it from? Oh, I heard it. I don't know if I can.
No. We whispered that. Did you hear that?
I whispered it because I wasn't sure if I was allowed to say it.
No, well I heard it's moving. Okay.
Let's just hope nobody heard that. We'll have to put some little beeps over
I'll
the
put that
top.
beeps out there. Okay, so we heard it from those 2 people who are quite high up in government, I would have said. Apparently it's moving to the training centre.
Yes.
Which is great that they're not closing it completely, that they're just moving it.
But people have been complaining, I think, a little bit because it's out of town. The training centre's not really out of town, but it's not.
But I guess if you were
as
walking,
close.
it's not the
But I could stand at the door of the current library, throw a stone and hit the place where it's going to be next.
Yeah.
It's not that
My
far.
goodness, you've got a good arm.
But then also,
It's not that far.
I don't know, for like elderly people, it's quite. The
It
library
is
is
up-
really
that's
close to
correct.
the elderly. Do you know? Because the hospital's there and
That's
then you've got the
true.
library. Whereas
It's
not
up the
the
hill a bit as
hospital,
well.
where they live. So
That's true.
them having to go up the hill, blah blah.
Do you know
blah.
what they should
They
do?
should
They should
a
build.
mobile.
No, not about.
Mobile,
yes, they
mobile
could.
library in a van.
Yes, they could.
Mobile library in a van.
Yeah, they could do
Or
that.
Post books. You do some sort of book delivery service or something.
Or-
I quite like a mobile library.
Or
Yeah.
they could move the courts and move the Legislative Assembly out of the town hall.
Yeah.
Make that bottom area into
Library.
a library,
Yeah.
and then build a brand new court. That wouldn't cost a fortune.
Let's do that.
I think a mobile library would be really good, actually. Really good idea, and especially because you could just hand your books back in as well. And for people who can't get out of the house,
That's still quite common in the UK, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
and for kids and stuff like that, mobile. Let's say they could go around the schools and stuff and get them reading new books. And
Yeah. So just on that point about reading, Caiti, you won't mind me saying that you are dyslexic.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you find reading?
Um,
That's a stupid question.
Well, it's quite interesting because I didn't know I was dyslexic until I was 20, so a bit unusual. And I've always been a massive reader. I've always loved books. But I thought that when everybody read black and white, that the words shook and that the letters changed places. I just thought that was how you read. Turns out it's not, and that doesn't happen to everyone. But what I do is that I read through a green screen, so I've got plastic ones that I need for when I'm reading something physical. And on the computer, you can put a layer over your screen that means I can actually read the words without them moving.
How did you find out which colour suits your?
You try.
Or is there
loads.
like a multitude of colours and you just put them over and see whatever?
Yeah, and it's whatever settles your eyes. So
Can the optician pick up things like that?
I'm not
because you know when
sure.
you read the letters in an optician's, and you've got the chart, I would have thought that that's something that if you were struggling to read it, that the optician would say, oh, you need glasses, blah, blah, or you may be dyslexic. But
well, I've not anything that was picked up there, but what I did discover today was that I downloaded the Kindle app onto my phone, and
Hang on a minute.
Oh, what?
Listener, see how this all
Yeah,
ties
ties
in
it.
together. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's beautiful. Listen to this. Go on.
I downloaded the Kindle app on my phone, now that I can download apps again, and found that I was able to put a green screen onto my book on my Kindle app. 'Cause
Through
when-
the app.
Through the app, because when it first popped up, it was a white piece of paper, and I just thought, actually, I can't read this book because I won't be able to understand the words.
So how
What
did
were you doing on the
Yeah,
Kindle?
what were you downloading?
Yeah,
What was
yeah,
the
yeah.
book
What
you were
was the book?
downloading?
I was downloading a book called The Pianist by Rita Seagull.
Who's Rita Seagull?
No
What
way.
a lovely name.
Brilliant.
Wonderful
But that
book.
sound, I'm intrigued already.
Well, I have in my hands the prologue to said book.
Ooh.
Would you like to hear it?
Here's where it all ties in with getting our podcast up there to the top, because there are other podcasts that read out books in their podcast,
Yes.
and they are running in the top 10 of podcasts.
And have been for a very long
Have been for a
time.
very long time.
Ah.
So, tell us more, Caiti. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. What if you were single? What if you were sitting in a cafe and someone famous walked in? Because that could happen.
That happened to me. That's why I wrote it.
Thank you.
So this could be the authors
jump in.
Yeah, do jump in
You
whenever
look just
we
like
do.
Tom Cruise, can I just say?
Oh, great.
That's where I got it from, yeah.
They don't all live in Notting Hill. I've been to London a dozen times.
True.
Admittedly, not to Notting Hill.
True.
And I have not seen any famous people.
Also true.
So where
I
do they
saw
live?
Bob Mortimer in Bath once.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Mm.
So where do they live? There must be loads of them. Actors, pop stars, sports stars, and reality TV celebrities. And then there's all the famous people who have slipped into obscurity. Like ex-Blue Peter presenters and soap actors who vaguely look like your Uncle Bill.
That's true, and I do have an uncle. Well,
If you haven't sussed it out by now, Paula is Rita Seagull.
But I'm getting off the subject, which was to imagine yourself in a cafe, not your local greasy spoon, but a smart coffee house. It's a weekday, say mid-morning, not very many people around, just a few businessmen grabbing a late latte and a blueberry muffin, or a couple of mums waiting for preschool to finish. And then someone famous walks in. Now we're not talking Eamon Holmes here, We're talking a fully fledged, bona fide, card-carrying, Gerard Butler type famous person. Ooh. On his
Who's
own.
listening to us in California?
Hi Gerard, get in touch. You can make an appearance on the podcast. On his own, standing in line, just an ordinary handsome man minding his own business, buying a macchiato to go. He waits patiently at the end of the counter as they make up his order, and it's amazing that no one recognises him. Or maybe they're just giving him some space to be himself. He reads the notice board as he waits, and the assistant has to say, "Skinny hazelnut macchiato?" out loud to attract his attention. He gives the assistant a brief smile and says thank you, which just proves that he's an all-round nice guy and not at all up his own bottom.
I just realised actually, is there any rude words in this? Because I can't remember whether there was anything that we can actually put on. Yeah, we ought to put an explicit, just in case. May contain mild language.
May contain the word bottom.
Saucy language, yeah.
And scoops up his order. Now, here's the exciting bit. As he turns to leave, he enters your island, and at this point you look up.
Hang on, wait a minute. At this point, you can imagine some soft music underneath. In fact, I might do that when I edit this together.
As if for the first time, from reading some exceptionally brilliant book. And that's when it happens. At that precise moment, there is a...
Oh, it's a French word. I don't know why you can't pronounce it.
Frisson.
Frisson.
Frisson. Which you can't ignore. Did he feel it too? He has, after all, held your gaze for just a tad too long. There's a twitch of his mouth, but then he leaves.
Oh, that's good.
Would you follow him? Would you?
Would you?
Of course you'd follow him. Come on, how often do you have a connection
Stalker?
like that with someone?
I probably wouldn't.
Stalker. Okay, maybe he had
but
something.
no, but if he's
maybe
held
he had
your
something
gaze-
in his eye. Maybe he was trying to get a bit of hazelnut from this macchiato.
If he held your gaze and give you the... Of course you wouldn't just let that chance fly away.
Just a little wink, maybe.
Weirdo, I think.
Would you follow him?
No.
Would you?
No,
I probably wouldn't.
no, there you go.
What,
See?
if it was Joe Butler, you wouldn't... If someone who looked like Joe Butler, you wouldn't... And they held your gaze and soft
Listen.
twinkly music came in the
I've been
background.
happily married for 26 years. I'm sorry. Gerald Butler just smiling at me is not going to do it. He's going to have to work a lot harder than just a little smile.
But let's take this daydream just a little bit further. What if your paths crossed again? Perhaps a week later, so that the memory of the coffee encounter is still fresh in your mind, and thinking about that moment makes you all shivery, and not because you spent 4 hours watching all of his YouTube clips.
I've done that.
You go to a party at a local hotel, a smart, expensive hotel, and you look wonderfully glamorous and sexy. Beep. There he is.
Is that not a word we can add?
I wasn't sure. There he is, standing near a table, looking all tall and broody. He spots you and saunters over, and you can admire his long legs and well-tailored suit.
By the way, if anyone's listening to this and wondering if it's ever going to end, it's only got like a paragraph left.
He doesn't say anything, but takes your hand and leads you to the dance floor. Although he's this hotshot famous person, his embrace is soft and inquiring. He is not taking anything for granted.
Stop listening here if you're under 18.
You've been warned. After a while, he pulls away and gently kisses you. Then he asks you to come up to his room. Now, you know he's going to the States the next day. Hi to everyone in the States.
That's not what was in the script.
You read it on his website, and you'll probably never see him again. So, the big question is, would you go?
Would you go?
Would you go?
Would you
Would
go?
you go? Come on, so you've met him twice now. It was meant to be.
Again, I'm happily married, 26
If you weren't
years.
if you weren't married.
You do a lot more than just a, sweet smile and a...
But he's taking you for a lovely little waltz around the ballroom.
Has he?
Yeah, I thought he took you for a little dance.
Okay. Yeah.
Come on, if you weren't married, if you were single, and
Then yes.
you had that moment.
Yes.
Gerard Butler.
What about you, Casey? Would you?
Would you, Katie?
If it was George Ezra, I'd potentially consider it.
Yeah.
But I'm a very classy lady.
And who knows what you're doing up in that room? Do you know you could just be chatting or
Could be having a cup of tea with
a
the
cup
Queen.
of tea with the Queen? Yeah.
So after that, is that us, I think, for today?
I think that's us for today.
We need a teaser for
yes.
your round 2 book though.
My what?
Round 2.
Chapter
There's also
the chapters. I don't know because we were going to do this as a thing, but that's actually quite lengthy, isn't it? Maybe we'll do a spin-off.
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 If you would like a spin-off of Meanwhile in the Falklands that vaguely resembles another podcast that is in the top 10,
but not at all.
But not at all. Less than 10%.
Brand new idea.
Then let us know. Leave us a comment. Get in touch on our Facebook page, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. We also have emails,
Or if you've got
old school emails.
If you've got a first chapter you'd like us to read out, we could do
send
that too.
it to us.
Yeah.
We can read your books on here. We've got a variety of accents to work with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my god, we could all be different characters.
Wonderful.
That's what we should do. Right, that comes to the end of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. And it was not at all self-promoting.
Plug.
Join us next week. We'll have Thomas back. He comes back tomorrow.
Hooray!
The Open for the badmintons is on this weekend as well. Badminton finals and semi-finals on Sunday, so we'll be filming that. Public meeting on Monday afternoon. And Legislative Assembly sitting on Thursday, I believe.
Oh, and we get a nice evening out at the Malvina where we taste the new menu.
Yeah,
Woohoo,
new menu coming
all
soon
good
at Malvina
things.
House Hotel. Excellent. So join us next week.
Bye. See you later.